Yo 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 yo.
The One Piece is real!
立て直すわよ。
危ないジョンボーさん
なんだよこれ。
させるかよそこに
What an amazing opening to an amazing game. In today's video, we're going to be discussing One Piece Odyssey and why you need to be playing it if you haven't already. Now, in this video, I'm going to be keeping it relatively spoiler free, so I'm only going to be showing you about the first 5 to maybe 10 hours, just in case you haven't played this game yourself. So let's get into what makes this game amazing and worth your time. Let's start with the story. So this game takes place through the main arcs that you'll find in this very niche, very indie manga and anime series respectively named One Piece. I don't know, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but I think it's got potential. You'll follow the story of Luffy and his ragtag team of misfits who all make up the Straw Hat Pirates in their search for the One Piece and for Luffy to fully realize his dream of becoming king of the pirates. Now this game takes place around episode 780 of the anime series, but don't worry if you're not caught up yet, there is still plenty of things in this game for new people to the series and absolute veterans. The game starts out by introducing a completely original character by the name of Lim, who through her mistrust of pirates instinctively steals the memories and abilities from the Straw Hats. Having their abilities and memories stolen from them, the crew are now forced to revisit past events through their lives to obtain them back. Now you're also introduced to another original character by the name of Adio. Now he is very integral to the story, so I'm not going to be touching on him too much. However, Adio and Lim are really interesting characters and bring a fresh new perspective to the game that is based loosely around retelling existing stories that most players would already be familiar with. So because this game takes place around episode 780 of the anime series, if you haven't watched up to that far, can this game be considered spoilerish? Well, at the time of playing, I have only watched up to episode 400-ish of the anime series, and this really dictated where my enjoyment of the game landed. The game jumps to several different arcs, all located sporadically around the series. You'll visit East Blue Story, which is around the start of the anime. You'll go to Alabasta or Arabasta, however you want to say it, which is around episode 90-ish. You'll take a jump to Skypiea, which is around episode 153, over to Water 7, which is around episode 229, and all these arcs take place very relatively early on in the anime series, considering that the anime series itself is over 1,000 episodes. And it's in these earlier arcs where I found the most enjoyment in the game. And I think this really comes down to me already having experienced these locations and characters and story beats. Getting into these areas again, it almost became nostalgic for me to be able to experience these locations in an interactive medium. The attention to detail really shines through, the landmarks are so recognizable and the spirit of One Piece is masterfully captured here. However, the same cannot be said for the arcs I am yet to experience in the anime. After the Water 7 arc, this game takes massive leaps to arcs set much further into the series itself. So we take a giant leap to the Marineford arc, which is around episode 457, and then another jump into the Dressrosa arc, which is around 629 episodes in. Now, given that I am only about 400 episodes in at the time of the recording, did this come across as sort of spoilery? Yes, I'm experiencing new locations, new story elements, and new characters that I haven't seen before. Existing characters that I already met have a whole new look to them, some have battle scars, so you kind of wonder what the hell is going on here. This kind of spoiled for me that certain characters are going to go through something that changes their appearance in the anime series that I haven't yet got up to. Now these arcs that I haven't personally experienced with the anime yet, are still enjoyable. However, I did see a very sharp decline in my enjoyment of the game because I'm not familiar with these areas or characters yet. There just wasn't that same magic there because I don't have the bond to the new characters I'm interacting with. Again, mechanically, the game is absolutely sound and is still enjoyable. It's just that the game really expects you to have a prior knowledge of the One Piece series, so that fills in the gaps that are left in this game. The reason being for this is that some of the arcs in this game are about 5 hours long, some take even less. Now there's over 1,000 episodes in this anime series, the manga is pretty big as well, so trying to fit everything into a 5-hour arc in a game, you're obviously going to be leaving a lot of story and character development on the cutting room floor. This is why I say that prior knowledge, or at least experiencing the anime or the manga series to a degree prior to playing, it's severely going to increase your enjoyment of this game. You'll just have a much larger appreciation for the environments and what's actually being presented to you. Now, if you are deep into the series, or hey, if you've caught up, first of all, congratulations, but you're going to love this game. You've probably already played it, so what are you doing watching this video? But it's on this that I recommend that if you are going to play the game, only play the arcs that you have personally experienced first through the manga or the anime. You're not going to have anything spoiled for you. All the story elements that you are familiar with are going to be there and you're able to fill in the gaps. Once you start getting past where you are in the anime or the manga, that's where you can potentially get into spoiler territories and it can ruin some moments. I had a character death ruined for me because of this game. Now you will eventually unlock free roaming in these locations and a fast travel system, so you will be able to go back and revisit areas to get the rest of the collectibles and find all the secrets. Now just to touch on the world, the animations, the performance, the music, really just quickly, it's solid. It's so good. Everything adds to the experience. Sound design is phenomenal. When something hits, it has a really satisfying thud. All the music is quite nostalgic and you can hear songs that were in the anime and you're just like, oh yeah, I remember that song. Playing on the PS5, it's been absolutely solid. There hasn't been any sort of drops in performance or frames. There are two modes, there's a performance mode and a quality mode. One obviously handles the frames per second, another one handles the image quality. For me personally, I'm running it on performance mode because I want to capitalize on those extra frames. Changing it down to the image quality mode, I didn't really see too much of a difference and it really wasn't worth that much of a sacrifice to give up those extra frames for a slightly higher image quality. Everything is animated beautifully, it's set in this really cartoonish looking world, so you can get away with dropping the image quality down a little bit to capitalize on those extra frames. Now moving into the characters and combat, this game really didn't have to go as hard as it did. If you've watched or read One Piece, you'll quickly realize that each crew member brings their own unique strengths and weaknesses, and this game is no different. Luffy has eaten the devil fruit and has obtained this incredible power. Zoro is a master swordsman. Sanji has incredible combat, but is probably on a register somewhere given how much of a creep that he is. Nami is the crew's navigator and also brings other assets to the story. And Robin also brings other assets. I'm getting distracted. And you get to play as these different crew members throughout the game, and each have their own unique gameplay style, typing, and things that they can do in each location to help you get around and to also find secrets. For an example, Usopp can snipe things in hard to reach places, Luffy can stretch and use his powers like a grappling hook, and Chopper can also get into small spaces. These are just to name a few to avoid some spoilers. It's also fantastic that the developers looked at each character, looked at their unique skill set and abilities, and implemented that into the game. And this just comes down even to the run cycles. I mean, look at my boy run. If this is not Usopp to a T, I don't know what is. Moving into the combat now, I found this to be surprisingly deep considering what kind of game that this is. Each character is assigned a type essentially. The type will either be power, speed, or technique, and this is like that classic rock, paper, scissors formation where one type will be weak to one other type, but also being strong over another. The game will always have a wheel on the bottom left for you, in addition to showing you a graphic on each enemy's health bar, so you'll never forget or misunderstand if your attack or your certain character is weak or strong to that particular enemy. Now the combat is turn-based and is not something I'm usually a fan of, but this time around it was actually really enjoyable. And I think this came down to a mixture of the enthralling story that One Piece sets up. It has a variety of abilities offered by each character and their unique skilled attacks, and a wide breadth of enemies which kept everything feeling fresh and interesting throughout my play. One thing that really annoys me in turn-based games, and thankfully it's not here, is changing locations or swapping out party members and having that take up a move. Thankfully in this game, you can swap out people or locations on the actual battlefield and it won't take up a move. Now in terms of turn-based games like Pokemon and the older Final Fantasy games, this game actually gives you so much more to do. So as stated before, characters will have their own typing and unique movesets that take advantage of unique battle styles of each particular character. You'll then have skilled attacks, which are these massive attacks that are beautifully animated and do huge amounts of damage. And yes, characters that have transformations in the anime or manga series do have those same transformations here. However, sadly, because of where this is set in the series, there is no Gear 5 Luffy. Now it's always such a treat to use these skilled attacks, and as long as you have tension points, or TP for short, you can. On top of the typing and the skilled attacks, multiple fights can actually take place in different locations in one battle. So you may have a couple of characters fighting a few enemies in one spot, and then you can cycle through different locations to other characters on the field who might be fighting enemies of a different typing. So now you're not only forced to look at your character's typing and also their tension points to make sure they have enough to use skilled attacks, but now you're looking at the actual character's locations on the map and having a look at where you can better place them to take advantage of typing strengths over weaknesses. Now on top of that, you can also swap out different crew members who aren't out in the field, and they too bring their own list of pros and cons, so you can see just how much more involved this gets as a turn-based game. You can also change the character formations dictating where they'll spawn on the battlefield. For example, you can make Usopp spawn where there are no enemies so he can act as a sniper from a safe distance. You can also have Chopper spawn in with other players so he's ready and close by to give a much needed heal. There's just so much choice and customization in the game, and I haven't even got into all of it yet. You'll also need to assess the moves of strengths and weaknesses through certain elemental effects such as burn, freeze, and lightning elements. There are also status effects like bleeding and paralysis, or making an enemy faint on the field. You'll also get party buffs for resting at campfires, in this case a 30% buff for the next 10 battles. You'll also be rewarded XP for completing danger zone challenges, which appear in your battle as a small goal to change the focus of the battle itself. And there's a whole system of equipping certain relics that apply buffs to your characters. There's just so much to take in. But hey, if all of that is too much, there is an auto battle feature for you where the game will just play out the battles itself so you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the action. Now granted, the combat really isn't the most difficult thing in the world. Where I'm up to at the moment, I haven't really had a need to grind for gear or grind for XP, and you really won't have that much of a struggle if you're just following the main story. In fact, on many occasions, I've actively just walked past enemies out in the open world just because I couldn't be bothered attacking them at that point in time. But this is what I love about the game. It doesn't force you or make you feel like you need to grind for gear or XP. It is a game that completely respects your time, especially if you're like me and are quite time poor. It doesn't demand that you grind for hours. It's fast paced, but most importantly, it is fun. Now the game can't be perfect, right? There has to be something wrong with it. Well, here are my gripes with the game, but they're so small, so insignificant that we'll just put them down to nitpicks. This game is entirely in Japanese and there are no other language options, which may deter other players from playing. I would have liked to see an option for players who did have a language preference, but for me personally, seeing the crew faithfully adapted into this beautiful 3D world, taking me to locations I fell in love with when I watched the anime, and being able to relive such memorable moments, I quickly forgot that this game wasn't in English. I would have liked an option for English, but it really didn't detract too much from the game. And on top of that, the original voice actors came back for this game. So if you already are watching the anime in Japanese, this is gonna be just an absolute dream game for you. Now, one thing that did detract from the game, in my opinion, just ever so slightly, is not being able to save anywhere. You have to find certain saving checkpoints, and these are going to come in the form of certain shop owners or these saving statue checkpoint looking things. It just feels very 2000s, not being able just to hit the start button and save wherever you are. It feels very, very dated, and I think a lot of gamers have moved on from being restricted to only saving at designated locations or designated points in the game itself. Now, yes, these save points are pretty well spread out, but I did have a couple of times where I did need to finish the game for some reason and I just couldn't find a save point in the game. And then I just left my console on so I didn't lose my spot. But again, I don't see why we can't just press a menu and save. I don't know why we're restricted to physical saving statues still in 2023. So, whether you are new to the series or you are a complete veteran, there is something in this game that everyone can enjoy. The game can be as deep or as surface level as you like, and it has been such a wonderfully apt adaptation of a series that I've grown so fond of. The spirit, the love, and the dedication to not only the characters, but also the locations and the stories told within them have been so masterfully retold here. This game is an absolute must play, even if you have the most minute interest in One Piece. But guys, that's the video for today. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far, and I want to thank the Coffee supporters who are on screen right now. If you want to receive these longer videos early, go ahead and hit that link in the description below to become a Coffee supporter. If you did enjoy the video, please go ahead, leave it a like, and sub to the channel. It really helps me out. But let me know in the comments down below, have you played Odyssey? What did you think about it? And are you going to be picking it up after watching this video? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. But take care and stay safe out there, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.